rates. Rates, or really let's just call it rate. A rate is a comparison of two numbers, usually, with unlike quantities. Okay, a rate is a comparison of two numbers with unlike quantities. We briefly touched on this yesterday when we first started our discussion on ratios. Okay, an example of this would be 22 miles and 2 gallons. Okay, 22 miles over 2 gallons, or 22 miles per gallon. Okay, the fraction bar right here means the word per. Okay, unlike ratios yesterday, rates must be expressed as an improper fraction, or proper fraction reduced whole number mixed number reduced or decimal. Okay, so unlike our ratios from yesterday where we had to express them as a fraction, or like 3 to 4 or 3:4, rates are different. Okay, they can be expressed as a whole number, a proper fraction, a mixed number, or a decimal number. Okay, usually the way they've given it to you is the way you need to express it. Okay, and we'll go over some examples here in a second. Yes? Yes. Okay, so the other thing about rates, and I'm going to put this in red letters, you must have a label with your answer. Okay, and I'll get to like our example we just did here in a second. Okay, you must have a label with your answer or it will be wrong. Okay, so let's go back to that one I just listed a while ago, 22 miles over 2 gallons. Okay, 22 miles over 2 gallons can be reduced. What can I reduce 22 over 2 by? Zach? Okay, what can I reduce it by? What number are you reducing it by? By 2. So we're dividing by 2 to 22 and a 2. And that gives us 11 over 1. Well, 11 over 1 is not in simplest form. 11 over 1 is 11 miles per gallon. Okay? Now, you could also write that as 11 miles slash gallons. Okay, that's the same answer. Okay, and the acceptable abbreviation for that one is MPG. Okay, you see that on commercials all the time, especially nowadays when gas is so expensive. They'll say, "Hey, it gets 43 MPG." Okay, which means it gets 43 miles per gallon. Okay, so that's any of those three would be acceptable answers. You do not have to have all three of them. Okay, any of the three would be acceptable, but you do not have to have all three of them. But you will notice on each one of them, label, label, label.
Can I just tell you something real quick?
Yeah. Okay, so as we stated, you got labels in each one of them. Okay? So understand that you must have a label for it to be correct, and it must be the correct label. Obviously, you're not going to put in there feet per pound. Okay? 11 feet per pound. Okay? You're not going to put something like that. Okay? So, let's look at some actual examples out of the book. Let's look at number 1. Number 1 says 40 miles in 2 hours. Okay, they want you to put that in a rate. Okay, so what is my rate to 40 miles in 2 hours? Okay, 20 what? All right. So, what do you think, Drew?
20 mph.
mph, okay. One way we can put it, 20 mph means miles per hour. You could put 20 miles / hours. Okay, or you could put 20 miles and actually spell everything out. Okay. Now, there's only a few of these that have acceptable abbreviations. Okay? So don't be making up your own abbreviations, Zach. Don't be making your own abbreviations so you don't have to write out the words. Okay? Like, for example, number 11 says 7 commercials in 1/2 hour. Okay? That's not CPH. Okay? That's not an accepted form of it. Let's go ahead and look at that one, because that one's a little bit more difficult. We got, what did it say, 7?
7 commercials.
Yeah, 7 commercials. No, it's actually not. That's probably less than what actually is happening these days.
It's 7 commercials during a 30-minute.
All right. Now, understand. Yeah, you started it, so don't be pointing at him. Now, when you're looking at a rate, you want to see how many occurs in one specific time. For example, we said a while ago, 11 miles per 1 gallon. Okay, the last one we just did, 20 miles per 1 hour. Okay, so if they say 7 commercials in half an hour, then how many are we going to have in 1 hour? 14. So the answer to this one then, the rate is 14 commercials / hour.
Wait, so why did we go up?
Well, because we are only talking about half an hour. So we want to know what it is for a full hour.
Why didn't we do 15 minutes?
Huh?
Why didn't we do 15 minutes?
60 minutes?
15.
Why'd you do 15?
That's half 30. It would be like...
No, half an hour is 30 minutes. We want to know the rate for an hour. No, what we're talking about is we want to know the rate for an hour. All right, now, we're talking and we're not supposed to be. You don't have all the notes now. All right. Now, I don't want any response. I want you to do what I said. 36 for $12. Okay? 36 for $12. So they want to know what we call the unit rate. Okay? So they want to know how much a unit cost. So what we do then is we do this. 36 over 12. So we don't know what we don't know what the 36 represents. They didn't give that to us. Okay, so you're still going to have a label. It's just not going to look exactly like the ones we've done. Now, so if I divide 12 into 36, 12 goes into 36 how many times? 3 times. So that's going to give me 3 for $1. Okay, so whatever we're buying, we're getting 3 for $1, since it's 36 for $12. Okay, I want you to do this one on your own. $6 for 3 pounds of grapes. When you have the answer, raise your hand. Or you have an answer, raise your hand. Brandon.
$2 for 1 pound.
Yes. $2. We could say $2. We'll say $2 per pound of grapes. That would be your answer, because you got to know what they're asking you for. Now, let's look at number 12, because I want to make sure that we're clear on why we're doing stuff. Number 12 says 25 yards in 30 seconds. Okay? 25 yards in 30 seconds. Now, a while ago, the reason we took commercials to 1 hour is because that's what they had their problem in. They had it in hours. That's why we went to hours. Okay? Here, they have it in seconds, so we need to take it per second. Okay? So you're going to do the same thing, but now you're going to get a fraction. Okay? There's your fraction, 25 over 30. Okay? 25 over 30, and I'm going to reduce that. What can you reduce it to? What? 5 over 6. Now, I believe, yes, they're going to want it as a fraction, so we don't have to take that and put it a decimal. So we just have 5/6 yards per second. Okay, 5 over 6. We just reduced 25 over 30 by 5. 5 goes into 25 5 times. 5 goes into 36 times. All right? Now, let's move on. Let's look at these proportions that they've given us. All right, number 22 says 32 racers over 8 teams equals N racers over 1 team. So if I have 32 people racing, and that represents 8 different teams, then how many if we keep our same rate, how many are going to be on 1 team? Drew? 4. How did we come up with that?
We divided it.
Right. Or we did this. What did it take us to go from 8 to 1?
8.
We divided by 8. So we divided the fraction by 8 on bottom, so we have to do the same thing to the 32 on top. And that gives us 4 racers. Okay, let's look at another one. 24 boats over B heats equals 8 boats for 1 heat. All right. 8 boats for 1 heat, 24 boats for B heats. Okay? So a heat is an individual race. So what they're saying is there's 24 boats in this race. And they're dividing them into heats. Okay? One heat has 8 boats in it. That heat races, then you get another heat. That heat races, then you get another heat, and then they take usually the first one, either the first place or the first, second, and third place from each heat, and race them together. And that's what they do. They do that at track meets. Like you may have 4 or 5 heats of the 100-yard dash, and then they take the top 8 times from the 100-yard dash and race them in the finals. Okay? So the answer then is what, Drew? 3 heats. Okay? So we ask ourselves once again, what did we do to 8 to make it 24? You multiplied by 3. So we got to do the same thing to 1. And so that means there's 3 heats. Okay? So it's very similar to what we did yesterday with the proportions. Now they just put labels on it. Okay? So it's not really any different than what we did with the proportions. All right? All right, we still got, looks like almost 18 minutes left in class, almost 20 minutes. So I'm going to let you divide up. Now, here's what we're going to do, okay? You 4 are together. You 3 are together. You 4 are together. You 4 are together, okay? Your homework, listen to me. Your homework is 1 through 27. 1 through 27. Huh? No. Huh? Borrow.